mentioned something before that I'm excited to hear about because he really burst onto the scene for a lot of America last year when you had that 4 or 5 game win streak, middle of the year. You upset Tennessee and you look good. Talk to us about Shane Beamer. He's your main guy, your head coach, and I mean, we're hearing stories about, these Luke Fickell, a lot of these great upstart coaches that really build up their team. You really have a team that, that wasn't the greatest at certain times, like you talked about, but he's really rejuvenated not just the team, but that whole area.
Yeah, man. What a hire by athletic director Ray Tanner. And Ray was on the hot seat during this time because he picked Will Muschamp, and he made some other coaching hires in some other sports that were not working out. Muschamp was a huge failure. And he went with this young guy. And Shane Beamer, at this point right now, it's almost as if he's got the like Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan's of college football, where he's not this big X and O's guys, but he's a recruiter. He's enthusiastic. He's likable. It's kind of like when Dabo burst onto the scene and Clemson started having some of their success, and people liked they liked Dabo. I think they're tired of him now and his shtick, but Beamer's very likable, and it's allowing people from across the country to see like, hey, this he's young, he's got energy, but people forget that he's got experience and he's got exposure. I mean, obviously Shane Beamer, he's the son of Virginia Tech legendary head coach Frank Beamer. He was around there for a while from his dad's program, but he was here in South Carolina. Shane Beamer's the one that convinced Jadeveon Clowney to come to South Carolina. So recruiting has always been in his chops. He was the recruiting guy for South Carolina when DJ Swearinger came, when Stephon Gilmore came, when Lattimore came, when Jeffrey came. So when they had their biggest years, that was him. And then he turned it over to Steve Spurrier Jr. and he left, and it all went downhill from here.
Yeah.
But after going back to his dad at Virginia Tech, he said, hey, I want to have a chance to finish out my dad's last couple of years. He was at Georgia, and then he was at Oklahoma working under Lincoln Riley and Bob Stoops. So he's been around a lot of legendary coaches and a lot of programs that have had a lot of success. And basically he's taken that role of CEO, and he's that motivator type. He's the accountability. They preach, the word they use is love down here, which is kind of weird to talk about football and masculinity, but it's about family. It's about trusting your guys, and it's about getting people to buy into the program, and it's working.
It's great. I mean, hey, it's great that he's getting so much of that attention, especially with, let's talk about the elephant in the room, Dawn Staley and the ladies basketball team. And we know that dominates all the news out there. But Beamer's really set himself apart, in my opinion, as, I am here too. It's not just, Dawn Staley and the other coach. It's me and what I've been able to do. So it really makes me think very highly of you guys. And that's one of the things I was worried about for week one, just because he has you guys so motivated. And I'm just loving what he's doing out there.
Right. Well, and what's crazy about it is Ray Tanner had to choose between a couple coaches, and he was considering Shane Beamer, and he was considering the name's blanking on me now, but Billy Napier, who's at Florida. Yeah. Those were the final two, and they both have South Carolina ties, and he was trying to figure out. And you're picking one who was a rising head coach at Louisiana, who was guaranteed to get a step up somewhere, versus a guy who had never been a head coach before. Like, that's a bold decision to make. But one of the things that Tanner was looking for was someone who wanted to stay at South Carolina for years to come. And it's sort of a situation where, like, people think, well, Shane's going to establish himself and go back to Virginia Tech and take over his legacy. But Shane was here. His first kid was born when he was here, living in Charleston. I think his dad might have been around the Citadel at the time or something like that. But he was down here, and he's a lifer. So I can't say like lifer to this job, but he's really bought into Columbia. You mentioned Dawn Staley. He loves her program. He attends their games. She actually comes over during big recruiting weekends and meets the players, because he says he gets as much requests by the players and the moms to meet Dawn than he does anybody else. So they're neighbors, and so she walks over and says hello on to breakfast and with players and stuff. So it's a family of athletics. He goes to the college baseball games. He'll go out to the World Series if they make it there. He attends. So he's really a fixture in the community, and it's really gotten this whole buy-in of the program by just jumping into it and not just saying, I'm a football coach. That's what I do. I'm not the head ball coach, essentially, is what he's the opposite.
Right. I love that.